The crypto market has been pretty boring over the last week after everything that went down with Trump's inauguration, Trump coin, and all that crazy stuff. But as this has been going on, I've told you all, you got to be very careful right now because in these little moments where things feel boring and they feel calm and sustainable, although it is good for the long term, in the short term, it can start opening up some crazy doors of volatility. And what I'm seeing in the market right now is actually a little bit concerning. I'm not even going to pretend with you guys. And so today we're going to talk about exactly what this thing is that I'm seeing, what it could mean for the market, and what I'm doing in order to prepare for what I think is on the way. And so with that said, look, let's not waste any more time. I am currently out in San Francisco, which is why, of course, the view is a little bit different here. But as per usual, you guys know I'm going to try to bring you the best quality content that I possibly can. And so again, with that in mind, let's not waste any more time at all, and let's get straight into the video. Now, looking at, of course, the market on the day, we can actually see things are up pretty damn good, right? We got some things like Jupe, XEN, Pingu, OM, Fartcoin, and Tau absolutely leading the charge. A rather random wave of cryptos leading the charge here today. But at the end of the day, hey, what can you do? XEN has been on absolute fire. I've seen all of your comments about it. Everybody wanting me to talk about it. On the month, up 2,000%. On the week, 400. On the day, 65. I mean, the thing's absolutely running, breaking its way into the top 100, breaking its way seemingly into the top 75. And it seems as if it is on its way to be a top 50 crypto. So probably going to have to talk about that pretty soon here, especially as I continue to do a little due diligence on it. But outside of that, we can see the majority of crypto is in the green today. Obviously, a couple red things, BGB, Uni, Aave, XDC, and a couple of these other ones in the red, but for the most part, not too bad. Now, in the grand scheme of things, still outside of XCN, the majority of the altcoin market is still in the red. You can see things like Trump, Fartcoin, ICP, Pepe, Sui, SPX, and many more still in the red here on the weekly. And so that just goes to show that even though things are looking a little bit better today, let's not get too far ahead of ourselves because the majority of the market is still looking rather red in terms of altcoins. Now, when we zoom into something more like Bitcoin, though, Bitcoin's still rather in the same place that it's been. What we have seen is what has been called a liquidity handoff. Okay, that's what's been going on recently, a liquidity handoff, which is when you start to see a lot of retail investors start exiting the market. Retail investors start exiting the market after a massive catalyst like Trump's inauguration, Trump coin, etc. You start to see the institutions start really buying in mass, right? I think I saw something, and I'm going to repost it over on my second Twitter account while I'm waiting for my first one to get unsuspended, Elon. And it said something along the lines of like, there's been $4.2 billion worth of Bitcoin purchased by ETFs just in the last 7 days, something along those lines. And so what this means is that the reason things are going sideways is because the whales are just accumulating all of the crypto from the outgoing retail investors. But obviously they're not doing it with altcoins because the whales and the institutions aren't really interested in altcoins right now because we're not in an altcoin season. And so because of that, we're seeing the majority of altcoins falling, but Bitcoin's price stabilizing as a result of this liquidity handoff. And so because of that, obviously, again, we can start to see Bitcoin has been going sideways, honestly feeling a little bit boring recently. Now, as this has been playing out, it started to make investors jumpy. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, the longer that cryptos historically will stay in these little periods, sorry about that, they'll stay in these little periods of sideways movement, right? The longer crypto stays boring, obviously, as I mentioned before multiple times, the better it usually is for the long term because, of course, things do start to stabilize a little bit. They sustain. You start to see indicators resetting and cooling down. Although it is good in the long term, like I told you in the beginning of this video, it's usually scary for the short term because what happens is people start to get jumpy. Jumpy meaning they think it's going to go one way or another and they're getting impatient. Maybe that's the better word. They start to say, okay, well, it has to go soon. It has to go up or it has to go down soon. And so they start opening leverage long trades and leverage short trades and leverage long trades and leverage short trades over and over and over again while this thing is going sideways. And that creates what's called an HMZ. It's something we've talked about here on the channel several times, the high manipulation zone. It's whenever a crypto is going sideways, bouncing up and down and liquidating everybody on both sides because people start to get jumpy. They start to get impatient and they try to think that they can predict where this market's going to go. And I have a news flash for all of you. No one knows how this is going to play out in the short term. I think in the long term, people have some really reasonable expectations. But I think in the short term, people who are betting on 100x or 50x or even 25x leverage on what direction that this market's going to go, it's just that. It's just betting. That's all you're doing because at the end of the day, no one truly knows. Now, whenever you take that into consideration, when you keep that in mind, that really starts to paint a picture that I'm about to show you now. Because if we actually do head over to Bitcoin liquidations, you can see what has now happened here on the 1 day. So over the last couple of days, we were actually getting some pretty good signs. What we were seeing was that the greed in the market was relaxing. People weren't getting too greedy. We weren't seeing them opening up huge 100x leverage long trades trades because that's what causes the market to pull back. When everybody thinks the market's going to go up, it's often when the market does not go up and it goes down to liquidate all of those people who were betting that it was going to go up. But over the last couple of days, that's not what we were seeing. We were seeing the market healthy, stable. We were seeing a lot of people shorting the market, but not so many people longing the market. A lot of the greed had exited. But if you do now look at what is going on here with the liquidation map, it starts to get a little more concerning. Because if we actually do look at what Bitcoin's liquidation buildup is doing at this point, now you can see that a lot of greedy leverage traders have now re-entered. If we actually hold over here, just if Bitcoin heads back to, let me look for the exact time. Yeah, if Bitcoin heads back to just $100,000, which is only $4,800 away, which is a very easy move for Bitcoin to make, there will be almost $500 million worth of liquidations. Now, in comparison, if it goes up to, say, $111,000, there will be the same amount of liquidations to the top side for short traders. And what this means for me is that now we're at kind of like a break-even point where people will get liquidated often on the bottom and the top side. And in these periods where there are hundreds of millions of dollars to the downside and hundreds of millions of dollars to the upside that can be liquidated, generally I've noticed both of them end up losing. You're going to see the market maybe start ripping in either direction. The likelihood is that volatility will increase. And that does get a little bit scary because you never really know what result will come from that, right? Whenever volatility really picks up, and volatility is just another word for chaos, right? When chaos ensues and we start to see this thing really get crazy trying to liquidate all these people to the downside and the upside, it starts to put the market in a bit of a fragile position because you never know if that's going to trigger a massive sell-off or maybe even a massive pump. And so my warning today isn't particularly that the market is going to crash. That's not exactly where I'm going with this. But what I am saying is that as we are starting to see this market really build up a ton of liquidations in either directions, I do expect volatility to pick up an absolute ton. Now, you may wonder, well, what's going to cause that volatility? Well, first and foremost, I believe it's just manipulation. I'm a firm believer that this market is manipulated. I've said this for years. I believe there are lizard people who control this market that pull the strings that cause the market to go in the most favorable direction for them. So if they can liquidate investors and take that crypto from you, they will. And in instances like this, I believe that's what they're going to do. Now, in addition to that, we also have some news coming up. I actually mentioned this over in the school the other day, just yesterday. Yeah, yesterday morning. I said there are two major events that you need to watch out for today or in the upcoming week. The FOMC meeting, obviously, this is going to be a huge moment for crypto because it's really going to give us an idea of how the Fed is feeling about the economy. And I believe we're getting to a point where crypto is going to rely on economic-based catalysts like this. So that's something to watch out for. And in addition to that, the weekly unemployment claims, because this is all going to tie in together. How is the economy doing? If the economy is doing okay and interest rates are going to start coming down, that's good for crypto. If the economy is doing bad and interest rates may stay flat or go up, that's very bad for crypto, especially considering there aren't many catalysts to keep the retail investors, so that could cause a ton of volatility. I've said it before, I don't think this market relies on catalysts. I think this market can consistently climb as a result of just intrinsic value build, but at the end of the day, you do want to see that if there are good, bad things coming in the economy, some sort of catalyst can kind of offset that bad thing, because quite frankly, if there isn't something like that, well, things can get ugly. I mean, if in December, whenever inflation data started to get scary, and we thought maybe interest rates might need to go back up, the reason the market didn't tank a ton was quite simply because Trump's inauguration was on the way to kind of counter that negative sentiment. And so we don't have that right now. And so you really want to watch this week how this plays out with the FOMC meeting and how this plays out. But I am going to make a bit of a video in a day or two going into this more of exactly what you need to look out for. Now, I will actually let you know, I did post all of this information about the FOMC, about Bitcoin, and about altcoins all over in the school. And I will tell you guys really quickly, if you are interested in the school, you can head to the link down in the description below. It's a Patreon account. And what you're going to be able to do is get access to courses, coaching, classes, live streams, workshops, and much more. And it starts as little as $5 a month. So head down to that link down below and feel free to go check that out. And don't forget to go check out BTCC while you are down there as well, because you can get that 10% deposit bonus if you want to start trading today. But overall, look, the market is looking a little bit sketchy to me. I think we very well may see volatility really pick up soon. And so what I'm going to do as a result of this is I'm actually going to absolutely pause. I'm going to completely pause right now, because what I have been doing is not much, right? But there's a difference between not much and nothing. And what I've been doing recently was like, okay, well, I'm not leverage trading. I haven't leverage traded in weeks because I didn't want to be a part of this HMZ, which is what this is, right? A high manipulation zone. I didn't want to be a part of that. And so what I was doing was just a whole bunch of nothing. I said, you know what? I'm just going to wait this out. Well, and what I was doing was I was just buying. I was just doing some dollar cost averaging on any cryptos when they pulled back. But right now, as a result of what I am seeing right here, I am literally just going to wait before I buy, sell, trade, do anything until this Bitcoin price makes makes a move, because I think it's going to make a move very soon, and I want to be able to assess that move before I make my next move. I don't like to be someone who tries to just come on here and make bold predictions, right? I'm not one to come on here and say, oh, this is exactly what's going to happen, or that's exactly what's going to happen, because at the end of the day, no one actually knows. And so my opinion is always assess the market, assess the risk, and assess the reward, set out your realm of probabilities. So understanding, okay, this is more likely or that's more likely, and then assign different movements based on that. So say, okay, well, if Bitcoin does this, I'll do that. If Bitcoin does this, I'll do that. And that's the way I've stayed in the game for 5 years now, consistently trading and trading to be profitable. There's a difference between trading and trading to be profitable, especially throughout multiple cycles. And so with that in mind, that's kind of where I'm at. I am a little bit concerned that volatility is really going to pick up in the next coming days. So I am preparing for that by absolutely not doing anything, pausing all trades, pausing all buys, pausing all sells. And I'm just not going to make a move, because when you're at a balance like this, when you're at a crossroads, those lizard people, man, they're looking at that, they're licking their lips, they're looking at us like lizard food, and I don't want that for you guys. So I'll keep you updated as this all does play out. Obviously, I will be back to my normal setup whenever we do get back home. I am out in San Francisco right now. Obviously, you can kind of see some of it behind me. It's absolutely phenomenal. I'm super excited to check it out. We went to the Lakers game and stuff last night. Very cool stuff. So I will be back in a couple of days. I do have a bunch of big announcements coming for you soon, so stay tuned for that. But until then, just keep an eye on all of this, because it is going to get very, very, very volatile very soon, at least in my opinion, and I want you to be prepared for it. So make sure you stay tuned, subscribe to the channel down below, smash that like button, check out the school and the Patreon link down below, check out BTCC if you do want, of course, a 10% deposit bonus on all first-time deposits between $500 and $100,000, and I can't wait to see you all in the next one. Peace out, everybody.